It's time for our December 2019 plan with me. Draw along with me as we use wintry botanicals like pine cones and juniper to create a monthly cover page, weekly spread, and lots more. Hi friends, what's up? My name is Shayda and today we are doing our final plan with me of the year 2019. This is our December setup, and for the last month of the year, I thought it would be fun to take some wintry plants like juniper and even pine cones, and we're going to do a botanical setup, what else is new, that I hope you'll find really lovely, but also really achievable. Although this is the last plan with me of 2019, this is far from our last journaling video of the year, because next month in December, we are doing our 2020 setup, and that is a video that I have been dreaming about and planning for. After 2 years of journaling, I have a lot of ideas about what I want to put into that this year, and I can't wait for you to see it. If you're completely new to bullet journaling, the new year is a great time to get started, so stick around. We will also be putting out our 2019 flip through, and that's when I'm going to take you on a little tour of these guys, these notebooks here that I've been filling all year, and I can't wait to share. And of course, we'll have our January 2020 plan with me. All of that's coming out before Christmas, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of it. And with that said, make sure you're subscribed because we are doing a little giveaway today. It's been a minute since we've done a planner giveaway, so stick around till the end of the video for all the details. Here's a quick flip through of my November journal. Last month we did this graphic cover page, and of course underneath I have my goals and focus. Every month I've been doing the little Dutch door, and so many of you did this and shared it on social media, and it turned out so well. We did a dial calendar. We're going to do another dial calendar this month because it's just different and it's fun and I don't have to draw a grid. And then this weekly layout was also really popular on social media. The November little floral in the corner, I just did the first week of the month. I was like being extra for the video and then I kind of let that go, and last week I did this really simple to-do list with marker, and this is the week we're in now, just keeping everything really simple, loving the floral doodles and the black and white. I've got lots of space for my to-do list, and then I'm going to leave one page blank for next week, and then if we flip over we are into December. So I have my page marked to start my Dutch door cover page. I'm just going to grab a pencil. Basically, I'm just trying to show off my little pulp storage cardboard pencil box that I'm in love with. So this month we're going to do a wreath, and that's what you see me marking out here. I can't believe we've gotten through a whole year without doing a wreath, but if you're following along and doing the Dutch door, just make sure that you mark in 8 squares on 2 pages, not 1, but 2 pages. Before we get started, I want to mention that you can print my December cover page. All of my channel bonus content is available on Patreon, so head over there if you'd like to grab some planner printables after today's video. So before we do the wreath, we're going to talk about the greenery that makes it up, and the first one is cedar. So we'll do a little practice page together. Flip to a blank page in your journal, and we're going to start with a curving stem, and then we do all these little branches, and each branch has these thin little lines. They're not quite leaves, and some of the branches are curving and some are quite straight. I think the key with cedar, with any evergreen or pine really, is keeping everything really loose, really off balance, really wonky, and that's what we're trying to do here. So I want to do some practice. Draw along with me as we do juniper. We'll start with a branch, and then the juniper has these really thin, long needles, and you want to create a grouping of them kind of in an oval shape surrounding this middle branch or middle stem, but you want to keep them quite random and a little bit sketchy and messy, so that's what I'm doing here. This one is so fun to draw, but don't be discouraged if you don't get it the first time. Maybe put one straggler branch kind of at the bottom, not really part of the oval of needles, and then we will do a couple berries as well. There's something about the juniper I find really sort of difficult to get right, but really fun to try, like cracking a puzzle. And then I want to do just a really simple berry to complement these two evergreen sprigs, the juniper and the cedar. And so this one, you guys know, we've done this before. It's just groupings of berries, tiny little pointed oval leaves, and branches to join them all together. So for now, those are the botanicals that we're going to use in our winter wreath, the cedar, juniper, and some kind of berry. So let's flip back to our cover page where I've marked in those 8 squares where I'll be cutting. I'm going to be working with my Pigma Micron, the 03 nib. I've drawn a circle, not too big, not too small, and then I'm going to start adding these winter greenery, the botanicals, the juniper and cedar and random berry. And I am starting just with juniper, and I'm doing mine in pen, but feel free to start in pencil, make sure you're happy with it. And you can see me doing that same sort of juniper sprig where I've got this big oval of needles, and they're all very messy and straggly and thin. And then the cedar is a little more delicate and structured, but still a little wonky and a little unsymmetrical. The cedar tends to be a little darker as well. It looks darker on the page, so that adds a nice element of contrast to our wreath. Go around the pencil circle, and of course that circle can be imperfect like mine, or it can be something that you've traced. I'd like to take just a moment to say thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring our video today. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in photography, business, design, watercolor painting, and more. A premium membership gives you unlimited access to high-quality classes from experts working in their fields so that you can improve your skills, unlock new opportunities, and do the work you love. It's also more affordable than most learning platforms out there. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. And right now you can try 2 months of Skillshare for free. Just click the link in the video description below. As your wreath becomes full, you may want to move your journal around. Sometimes looking at things from another angle can show you where there's spots that don't look so balanced or aren't quite as full. And once that wreath is all done, we are going to cut it out. So we'll cut along the line, and then we'll have our little window page underneath. So here what I do for mine is I just put a cutting mat right under this front page and make some rough cuts. And then I take my little embroidery scissors and I go around and make some finer cuts, but again, I'm not overthinking it. It's not perfect. So there is our Dutch door cover page. Now on the page below, the only reason I've done the line is so that I simply know where to draw. Eventually we will erase it. I'm going to place my calendar on the right side of that line, and then I will finish this part of the cover page by adding a message, and I'm going to put "Be Merry" in the middle of the wreath, but you could do "Let It Snow" or "'Tis the Season," or really whatever you want, a pretty quote. Or alternatively, you could put the month title of December in there as well. I just wanted to do something a little bit festive. I always work out the cursive message in pencil first, just trying to get it perfect, and then I carefully go over it in pen. And then I ended up putting December down with the calendar. So if we flip that over, as usual, I'll just do this quickly because I do it every month. I'm going to put my goals and focus for me is just some personal affirmations that I'll be focusing on. And then I'm going to refer back to that juniper that we already drew, and I'm going to do sort of a larger juniper sprig down in the corner here. So getting very loose and free with my needles, very thin. Again, drawing juniper for some reason to me is like a bit of a puzzle, trying to get it right without getting it too right or too stiff. So there we go, that page is coming together. I'll get rid of all my pencil marks. I might add a little bit of highlighter, or how about a warm gray on the calendar, and I think that's looking quite pretty. Next, I'm going to skip the calendar page and we're going to do our weekly layout together. For the last month of the year, I want to go back to a layout that I did in August, I believe, because I just loved it, but then I stopped doing it because it's a little time consuming. Basically, you make this grid of 9 and you take out the 2 corner squares. You go over everything in pen. You use a ruler, which you guys know how I feel about rulers. I'm a bit too lazy for them. So that's why I stopped doing it, but I thought this would kind of be the perfect layout for winter because I do these sort of botanical corners. And since we're doing winter greenery and juniper, it's the perfect opportunity for me to add all these fun little wintry botanicals in the corners. So I'm doing cedar and pine and holly and random berries. What could be more festive than a random berry? So if you're doing this layout and you happen to have a Bear and Fig journal, I have the 5x7 size in the Confidant hardcover. I am doing a grid where the squares are 9x7, so they're a little longer than they are wide. And then of course I'm just filling in the corners with these sweet little doodles. So yes, this layout is a little bit time consuming, but it's not difficult. That's the thing. If you have the time for it, it's so pretty, and you just have to be really careful not to do those pen lines all the way across the grid. You know what I mean? Make sure to skip the corner. I use a slightly larger marker or brush pen to fill in the headers across the top. It would just take forever with a Pigma Micron pen. So grab a brush pen for that. And then we're going to add the dates in the top right corner of each square. And then once that black bit has had time to dry or sit for a second, we'll add some white gel pen. Here is flip back to August. This is what I did. So you can see the notes and goals was quite intricate as well. We're not going to do that this month. So let's put in our white gel pen. I'm just doing the abbreviation for each day. I will link this particular gel pen in the video description below. And then on the notes side, I'm not going to do anything quite as detailed as I did in August. I actually think I'm just going to do real simple here. What I've done is just put a square piece of paper, glued it in, added a bit of washi tape, and then I'm going to do the simplest little leafy doodle here. And that'll be where I put my notes and to-do lists and goals and that kind of thing. So keeping it quite simple, I figure one intricate spread is enough. We don't need 2. And I actually like how the sort of more detailed weekly spread looks with just the simple, clean, minimal notes page. I'm just kind of filling in my botanical squares wherever I might need another little leaf to balance everything out, and then that is done. This is also kind of a heavier weekly spread. You can see it kind of comes through, so that's why the notes page also is really helpful because it covers that up. With that done, I want to do a dial calendar, but first I want to draw a pine cone together, so practice first. So the pine cone starts with these 2 little top bits, basically just lines, and then we draw 3 sort of oval shapes, but they're not quite ovals, they're a little weird. And then we drop down and we do 3 or 4 more. They're just these random shapes, really. And then those random shapes get a little bit wider and shorter. And then they get wider and shorter again, and then we sort of finish it off at the bottom with this rounded bit. Don't worry, we're going to go over this in pen. We're going to do this again. It's sort of an egg shape, so that's what I'm trying to develop here. We start with those 2 ones at the top. They're sort of short and long, and then as we drop down, we do 3 or 4 of these really random shaped bits. Then after the first 2 sort of rows, they start to get shorter and wider and become these long, weird shaped bits, and we do almost a semicircle. And then towards the bottom, they're just these little curving lines, and they all come together to make this sort of curved bottom. I think the pine cone really comes together when you add a little bit of line shading. So at the bottom of every row, I want to really darken it and add a bit of contrast. And so that's what I'm doing there. And that's my winter pine cone. So this pine cone, you probably guessed, is going to be added to our dial calendar. We'll use juniper and the pine cone and maybe some berries to create another illustration. So if you did the dial calendar in November, it starts with this big sort of sweeping curving line that goes around 2 pages. And once you've drawn that in, it can be smaller than mine. It doesn't have to be this big. You're going to start drawing the juniper and berries and pine cones, just like we did for the wreath, just placing them wherever you think they would look good. You can do everything in pencil first, do some layout. I've added a little pine cone here. It's not quite as big as the one that we did for our practice, so keeping the pine cones smaller, that can be helpful as well. And then I'm starting to go over everything in pen. The nice thing about pine is that it's all very loose and free, and it's supposed to be imperfect. I mean, that's what I always say about botanicals, but with pine, it's like extra true. It's so random and it's so fun to draw. So here I'm just going around this circle and just really having a bit of fun with it. I'm referring back to the berries and cedar and pine cones and juniper that we did on our practice page, and I can't recommend doing a practice page enough. It just gives you a chance to warm up and get to know those shapes before you start doing a larger project or piece like a calendar page or a cover page. And it kind of takes the pressure off as well because it is just a practice page. So once that sort of wreath, this is really just another wreath, once that's all filled in, I'm going to write the December abbreviation in the center. You can see, again, I just work it out in pencil. My cursive writing is good, but it's not perfect. So I kind of think of each letter as an individual shape, and I go around and around, and okay, I'll change that one slightly. Then once I'm happy with it in pencil, then I go over it in pen. And what I thought might look nice for this would just be to do this almost cursive bubble letter where all the lines are very thick and full, and that's going to add a nice bit of contrast to the page. After a while, I realized I should just fill this in with like a larger marker or pen. So that's what I did, and I think it does look quite pretty, and it has that real oomph or contrast. And then we do these little lines with a circle at each end, and that's where we're going to place all of the important dates for the month ahead. Now, this is a great time to use a little circle stencil if you have one. If you have a ruler with some holes, those are great. I really need to get one of those. But if you're doing like I am, just sort of eyeball it, and it tends to work out just fine. So there are all my potential important dates. And then I'm going to use that white gel pen to start filling in. And this is sort of nice if you know what's coming up. For my part, I use this calendar mostly for my YouTube video dates, so I do know, as well as some family and personal stuff. But you can always leave some circles blank and fill them in later, right? Just put extra ones if you don't know what's coming in your month ahead. And then I just write a little label for my dates and videos, and that's what it looks like when it's all done. Okay, we've done a lot, but there's one more thing I'd like to share. I wanted to do a countdown to Christmas page, and I started designing this rather Scandinavian-inspired Christmas tree, and it started getting really intricate, and I'm working on this tiny page, so I moved it over onto my tablet, and I designed it there, and now if you would like to print it out for your journal, you can do so. This countdown coloring page is available on my Patreon site, so head over there after today's video and get yours. I was really inspired by Scandinavian folk art and design, so I hope you have fun coloring it. I know I'll be using mine. Okay, let's do a quick flip through of what we did this month. We've got our Be Merry cover page with the cutaway wreath and the Dutch door, and I'll put my goals and affirmations underneath, and of course I have my little calendar there. I did stick these pages together just because, mostly because I photograph everything, so I don't want any ghosting, although the Baron Fig is really good for that. We did our December dial calendar with lots of juniper. I have my Scandinavian countdown to Christmas tree, which I will have to paste in my journal. And then I have my winter plants practice page that I think turned out so sweet, so much sweeter than I anticipated. And then if we flip over here, we did a simple notes page and a more detailed weekly layout with, again, some winter berries and pine and that sort of thing. Well, I hope you enjoyed our December plan with me. There's so much more content coming up at the year's end, and I can't wait to share all that with you. If you do these spreads, be sure to tag me on social. And as I mentioned, we've got a giveaway today. If you would like to win some beautiful notebooks and journals from Bear and Fig, as well as tape and stickers from Washi Wednesday, and a pencil case and gel pens from Sakura, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel, turn your notifications on, and comment below and let me know what you'd like to see in the 2020 setup. Okay, and before we say goodbye, I'd like to thank Skillshare again for sponsoring today's video. Chris and I use Skillshare for a lot of our video production learning needs. And recently I came across this course on botanical illustration. It's all about watercolor and gouache and botanicals. What could be more perfect? It's by Sarah Meadows. She's a print designer and illustrator, and her style is so free and whimsical. And I thought that if you like my style, you might really enjoy taking a course by her. And this is just one example of the lovely courses and content on Skillshare. Even if you look at the related classes here, they're great. So if you would like to try 2 months for free, remember to click the link in the video description below and take a look for yourself. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed being here with me. I will see you soon with a new tutorial. For now, don't forget to subscribe and head over to Patreon to get those planner printables.